Joining us now is Michele Norris, senior contributing editor here at MSNBC, who has been watching these proceedings along with us. Michele, I'm curious to hear what has been on your mind and what observations you've been able to make while we've been watching everything that happened this morning, the inaugural itself, and now since.
Well, we were told that this was going to be a speech that was about unity. We should just say clearly that it was not. It was very polarizing in the things that he laid out, and that was made even more clear when he went downstairs to the visitor center. Rachel, it feels almost like he is presenting himself as both the arsonist and the fireman, painting this picture of America in decline and presenting this picture as if he is the only person, that we are all in a house that is burning in some way, and he is the only person that can put the fire out. And making a lot of promises, as you noted in the rally last night and then again today. And some of this is going to be very hard for him to carry out. You know, it's not easy for him to create a department without the help of members of Congress and the Senate. And it's not clear that they are on board for a Department of External Revenue, for example. But I'm also thinking about the coincidence on the calendar, I guess we could say the collision on the calendar, of his inauguration happening on the same day that we as a nation commemorate a civil rights icon, Martin Luther King. You know, to hear someone in that overly performative resuscitation of Dr. King's speech almost felt like trolling. When Donald Trump said that he is going to try to create an America that will live up to Dr. King's dream, and at the same time talking about changing the name of Mount Denali, at the same time talking about removing diversity efforts, at the same time presenting a cabinet that probably has the most questionable qualifications and is the least diverse that we've seen in some time. And, you know, Dr. King said in his last book, was based on a question, where do we go from here? And I think that that's the question that we face as a country. In Dr. King's case, the second part of that title was chaos or community. I'd like to think that we'll reach for community, but we're going to see a whole lot of chaos. And that's going to happen right away. Donald Trump is going to go, and before he even gets back to the White House, it's reported that he's going to sit at a desk at the convention center and start signing these executive orders. Lawyers are already rolling up their sleeves because there will be significant legal challenges when he talks about removing birthright citizenship. That's not something that he can just easily do. It's a protection provided by the 14th Amendment. So I think that we're going to have to figure out as a country how to take a deep breath and as individuals and as communities figure out what kind of country that we want to live in. And we're probably going to have to dig deep and figure out how to fight for the things that you believe in. And given what he spelled out today, it probably is going to be a significant fight for the soul of America.
To that point, Michele, as we have been talking even before his second speech started, which is still ongoing right now. He's still talking in Emancipation Hall downstairs at the Visitor Center at the Capitol. Public Citizen and a number of other groups have already filed the first legal challenge to one of the announced actions that he talked about in his inaugural, to the creation of the Department of Government Efficiency. They've already sued him as of essentially immediately upon him becoming president, challenging his ability to do that. So, yeah, the chaos and community and that bifurcated reality ahead of us, we're already seeing it play out. Michele Norris, thank you.